Hello, Simon. It's very nice to have you here today. Thank you very much for coming. So, the first thing that we would like to know is about your journey. How was it to start playing and start producing?
When I started to play, that was like teaching was because of my brother, more or less. I was more into like punk rock, and he started to play electronic music. And at first, I didn't like too much the electronic music because I come from a skateboarder background.
Yeah.
So it took me a while to get into it. And when I started to like it, I asked him if I can try a bit in his room to spin vinyls on the vinyl players. And yeah, that's when I started to play, like first just as a hobby. And yeah, then it started to grow. I started to play in parties when I was like 16 or 17.
Nice.
And yeah, so that's how it started with DJing. And then when I was 18, I think, or 19, I started to produce my own music.
That's nice. And could you tell us a little bit about your projects?
My first project was actually Tujon.
Yeah.
That was like just teaching, not really producing. And like the first few steps of production was also with this project. Then I started with Freakulizer. I think I released my first album in 2002. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so.
Yeah,
And yeah, then I played as Freakulizer all over the world. And I started to get more and more into like low BPM stuff like techno and house. And then I think in 2005 or 2006, I started to play more progressive house and techno.
Yeah.
And yeah, nowadays it's more techno and tech house.
Nice. And are there any producers who supported you during this process?
Yeah, there were actually many producers who helped me. There was like Sesto Cento, that was the first guys I went to the studio with, that came from abroad. They played the first gig in Switzerland in my party, so they stayed in my place. They were like very young. I think 16 and 18.
Yeah.
And then was like Intergalactic, was another Israeli producer that I started to work with. And then Silent Sphere from Switzerland, they were a big help because they knew a lot of known producers. They went to the studio with Infected and all these guys. And yeah, then Pixel was for sure also someone who helped me a lot, especially in quality.
And now I want to talk about your project KHAINZ. From where did you get this name?
That's actually a lot asked question. Like, it was a stupid idea that we started once. Like, I made music with a friend together, and they asked us if we want to play in a party, and we're like, what's your name when you play? And we're like, no idea. Put KHAINZ, which is like a very old German, old-fashioned name. And so we just shortened it from KHAINZ to KHAINZ. And then my friend left the project, so it just stayed as KHAINZ. And that's how it stayed.
You played a lot in Brazil, yes?
Yeah.
But how was your first time here?
The first time here, I got a booking for Universo Paralelo.
Yes.
So my friend Fabio Lau from Sao Paulo, he helped me out find some more gigs. So I think my first gig was in Club A in Sao Paulo in 2003 or 2004, and then was Universo. So yeah, Universo was a really big help to get a feet into Brazil, and it helped me a lot to like continue to come back to Brazil.
You've been doing this for a while now, right? 2015, you celebrate 20 years of DJing.
Yeah.
How has the scene changed in 2 decades?
With Psytrance, from what it was until it is now, that's like a huge difference. When I started with it, it was way more psychedelic. The production was not tight at all. No one really cared about production that time. It was really about the music. And nowadays, it's more like you need to have a really tight production, and like most of the Psytrance producer, they do a bit kind of similar stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But in techno, it's actually like there are many people that still play like this kind of raw techno that it used to be when I started to listen to it. And for sure, it changed also a lot. I mean, music is always in an evolution in a way. So BPM-wise, for example, I remember when I started to play, it was like everyone was playing like, or most of the people are like playing 128 or 130 even. And now most people are playing like 122, 124, something like this. So BPM wise, it changed a lot. And for sure, with new technologies, you create new sounds, you create better quality.
Yeah.
The access is way more easy for people who didn't produce before. Like they can now just download illegally a program, for example, and make their first step in production. So.
Yeah, and I remember back in the day, nobody used to like to give the kicks, the claps.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like was very hard to get something.
I had like LM7, I think it was the first Cubase VST 1 or 2. And like I had one kick, one snare, 2 hi-hats, 1 clap, and like an 808 kind of.
Yeah, do it with what you have.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
We are talking about production already, so which software do you produce with?
I'm producing with Cubase.
Yes.
Because it was the first program I had my hands on in 98, and since then I just got into it, and I know all the specific like key comments and shortcuts, and
So yes, it's
the easiest thing, but I like Ableton, for example, for its pitch algorithm and these things.
Yes.
So sometimes I rewire Ableton to Cubase and make some loops there and go back and forth.
Is there any synth that you cannot live without?
Actually there are a few things I cannot live without. Like, for example, I just bought a few months ago the Moog Sub 37 that I'm totally in love with. Like, it's such an amazing machine.
So tell us a little bit about your main setup in your studio right now.
In my studio, I use a PC. That's not really common anymore nowadays. But I don't know, for live and for performance, I use a Mac. And I have a Moog Sub 37, I have Nordlead A1, I have a Roland IRA System 1, I have a lot of hardware stuff, then some vocal stuff like TC, vocal. My sound card is a RME Fireface. That's it more or less.
And you've got over 200 tracks being sold on Beatport right now. How is your workflow between producing and playing?
My workflow, when I'm in Switzerland, I'm practically every day like 8 hours in the studio. So I have it kind of as a regular day job, like others go to the office, I go to the studio. Just I can choose my time when I go.
What are the challenges of this profession?
There are many challenges, but one of them is for sure to really make what you love and stay yourself true in a way. And the problem about this, or not the problem, but you always have the dance floor a bit in your mind, you know, like when you produce your music. So you have to find a mix between like staying yourself 100% true and still it has to work a bit on the dance floor.
For sure.
So this is for sure one big challenge that I guess every producer has.
Yeah.
And another challenge is all the flying and traveling, because you're so much on the road. You fly like, I don't know, like 120,000, 150,000 miles a year. And it's hard also to keep up relationships, like your friends and my wife, for example. Sometimes I miss her a lot when I'm traveling for like a month somewhere, like thinking a lot about her. And there are many challenges in this job, but in the end, it's a really nice work.
Yes, nice. And one last question. What would you say for those who are starting to produce and playing? Any advice?
I think advice for sure is like, just you need to love what you do. Yeah. Because without this, you will be never able to make yourself happy in a way, and like just to push yourself for something that you don't like or that you don't really want just because it's cool or whatever, it doesn't help you anywhere. Yeah. And it's very important to make a bit a unique style, like to have a bit of difference to all the other DJs, because I mean, in the most famous styles you have already someone that is on the top.
Yeah.
So you will always be second if you just try to make what he's doing at the moment. You never will be the guy on the top, because it will be always him.
Exactly.
So if you do something that is unique and like it's yourself and people appreciate what you do, it's much more easy to get successful with it.
So thank you very much for coming. We appreciate your interview. E galera, se vocês estão gostando do Estúdio Aberto, curte nossa página do Facebook, se inscreva no nosso canal do YouTube e até a próxima. Valeu.
Bye bye.